Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. It is your girl Alana Simone. So first of all, I just wanted to welcome you guys and hope you're having an amazing day. So today we're going to be talking about battle of self. And I think this is so important. I don't know about you, but sometimes in life I find myself getting into a battle. And oftentimes that battle is not with really anybody else. It's not really with like my parents or my friends or anybody. I usually find that the battle that I get myself into is with myself. So, it's kind of like a weird thing to say, but it's a real thing. And I think that I might not be the only one who feels this way. That's why I wanted to talk about that today, because I don't know, like, about you, but like for me, that's a real thing. Like, it's a real thing to be in a battle with yourself. And a battle with yourself is like usually oftentimes battling your thoughts, battling your feelings, just battling, things that you're dealing with in life. And so oftentimes we can get into battles with ourselves, and whether that's in the mind, whether that's in your feelings, whether that's through life. And one thing we have to do is learn how to fight and get through that. One thing that has helped me is, like, one of the biggest battles that I deal with or have dealt with a lot is the battle of my mind. And the battle of my mind is a battle that has been a battle for a long time for me, because why? It's one of the places that your mind is where you process your emotions, where you process your thoughts, where everything kind of just runs through. Anything you hear, anything you see, like anything, because why? Your eyes are connected to your mind. So when you see something, your mind now remembers it. So it's stuff like that. So every kind of thing in your body is like connected to your mind. And so that's one of the biggest battles that oftentimes we can find ourselves dealing with. Or at least I can find myself dealing with. And one thing that has helped me is just making sure that I'm constantly taking my thoughts captive and making sure that I'm not allowing my mind to overtake me. And not allowing the battle of my mind to win against me. Because while we have the power and the ability and the authority given by God to be able to win against our mind and win against the battle of ourselves, that happens within our mind usually. And one of the things that I've done a lot recently is really worship a lot, really pray a lot. And that has really shifted my mind and shifted situations in my life like never before. This past season that God has had me in, I had really no other choice but to really, really win the battle of my mind through prayer and through worship and through praise, because it's just been a crazy season that he's had me in process, I should say, that he's had me on to receive specific promises in my life, which I'm so grateful for, because this season and this process has transformed me like never before. And it's been amazing. Like, I look at myself a year ago till now, and I'm like, my mind is blown because of how good God is and how much he knows us, because he knows what he has to do and what type of process he has to take us on for us to be able to grow and mature in him. And so he's taken me on a path and journey and process to be able to grow and mature in him like never before, because it's what I needed and what he needed to equip me with to be able to hold and handle what he is bringing me into. And so one of the biggest things though during this is I had to learn how to win the battle of self. And the battle of self is really a battle that happens when like say sometimes it's in your mind, to where the enemy comes in and he really starts pouring in negativity, or he starts pouring in thoughts that are not of God, and making you question things and making you really feel discouraged and dismayed in the things that maybe God has spoken over your life. And so one thing that I've learned to do is to really praise and worship through that. And I realized for me that doing that, every time I felt down, every time I felt maybe depressed or felt like giving up, what I did was got up. God showed me that my praise and worship was a weapon. against the enemy and against what he was throwing at my mind and wanting to really take me down with. And so what I would do when those times came is I would get up and put on my praise and worship music and just start praising and worshiping God. And can I tell you that it had shifted in a moment? It shifts your mind. It shifts all of who you are to be able to switch your focus back to the one who cares and loves you and the one who's going to help you get through. And so in any situation, that's what I did. And let me tell you, it's been the best thing for me, because I finally, through this, like when you're in church, and I've learned, to take every thought captive. I've learned, the standard biblical principles, and just, I've learned God's word. But it's nothing like going through a season to where you actually you have no other choice but to implement what he has said, and there's really no one else to help you except him. And so this is a particular season that he had me in, and it caused me to really grow and learn and develop in him, because it made me realize the power that he's given us, and that we don't oftentimes realize that God has given us these, the power and ability to be able to win the battle of ourselves. And oftentimes we struggle with mental health issues. We struggle with, things that really can cause us to have a battle with ourselves. And a lot of times people turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol, they turn to sex, they turn to pornography, they turn to so many things to really try to find an outlet or something that they can really distract themselves from feeling and dealing with the battle of their self and dealing with the battle of their mind. And so one thing for me, I know I didn't want to do that. I know that those things only would suppress my issues. And so for me in my life, I didn't want to turn to none of those things, because first of all, I never had a desire to do that. But also I knew that it wasn't going to get me the results that I wanted, because when you understand that those things are just designed to just suppress you for a moment, or suppress you for a couple hours, or however long you do stuff, then that's what it is. But the feeling in the battle is still there. And so for me, I was looking for something that was going to take it away, or equip me and give me enough wisdom and insight to be able to equip me enough to, when these things happen, or when this battle comes up in my life, how I can combat it and how I can gain victory and win against it without it winning against me. And so for me, I found that praise and worship and prayer worked for me. And let me tell you, like, people are like, well, you don't know what I've been through and all this stuff. Listen, we all been through stuff. If you would, listen, I feel like I'm just not one of those people that really go into super detail. I love to make sure that I'm speaking when God tells me to speak on different things in my life. And one day, sooner than later, I'll be able to share with you more about this past season and process that God has had me on over the past 2 years now. And it's just going to blow your mind, because you'll be like, girl, what? And you still standing here talking to me, smiling? Yep, I sure am. But it's just amazing, because you know that you're winning against, I know that God equipped me to be able to win against myself. And that's our biggest, that's our biggest battle usually, is the self. And when you learn how to win against yourself and win against the thoughts and the mental battles that the enemy really tries to come for you with, then you really unlock a different level in life and know that you can make it through. And so that's just one thing I just wanted to share. That's one thing that has helped me: prayer, worship, and just being intentional. It didn't matter, especially on the days I felt down, just giving up and just throwing everything out the door and being like, listen, Lord, I can just come be with you and it'll be all right. Listen, because let me tell you, I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes the enemy will get in your mind and get in your head and make you feel like your life is just better with you not being here. No matter how much impact you're making, no matter what you're doing, sometimes that's what will happen. But one thing you have to do is win against that. And I'm so grateful and thankful that God has helped me to be able to win against that, has helped me to be able to win against the battle of myself, and showing me how important prayer and worship and just praising him is. Even if I couldn't pray, even if I just sat and put on praise music and worship and just cried the whole time, or even if I just sat in silence and cried, like, it don't matter. I just released it. And I just said, and I just became honest with God and said, this is how I feel. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm happy and I'm like full of joy and all this stuff. No, I feel depressed. I feel down. I feel discouraged. I feel like you left me. This is real, honest emotion that you have to be okay with expressing to God. Oftentimes we think that we don't have to say what's really in our heart, but God knows our heart and he knows what we're going through. And oftentimes what I learned, though, is when I released these emotions, when I really was honest with God, afterwards I realized the freedom that I felt, and knowing that emotions are temporary. And in one moment I may have felt really discouraged and felt like giving up on life. But in the next moment, when I released those things, I felt like I could live again. I felt like life was worth living for. I felt like God really heard me and understood me. And yes, my situation may have not changed overnight, but something changed when I released it. Something changed when I put on the worship or praise music. Something changed when I got real with myself and real with God and said, Lord, this is where I am and I need your help. I need you to help me overcome what I'm feeling. Because if without your help, I'm afraid that these emotions will overtake me. And I don't want that to happen. Sometimes you understand we got to be real with God. We got to be real and let him know where we're at. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to struggle with, mental health or self battles, whatever we deal with. But it's not okay to continue to suppress and act like it's not real, and it's not something that is an issue amongst a lot of people, because it's a real thing that a lot of people deal with. And so one of the things we need to understand and realize that it's real, and we need to work on moving forward how we can do better at dealing with it and overcoming it ultimately, because it's something that we don't have to live with forever, and it's something that we can learn things to be able to get us through and not feel like we have to give up on life because it's just weighing on us so heavy. So I'm so grateful that God has really shown that to me. I'm so grateful that I've learned new tools and have gained new insight to be able to help with dealing with mental health and dealing with battling myself and just anything I go through in life. That's one thing that has helped me and will continue to help me, because why? I know prayer works. I know God is real. And I know that we have the power to be able to change and shift the atmosphere and change and shift situations in our life. And I think we need to understand, at the worst moments in my life, at the worst times in my life where I felt the worst, is when I allowed God to really come in and help me. Especially when the enemy will try to get in your head like you don't want nobody's help. He can make you feel like you're all by yourself. You're on an island all by yourself. In those situations, I encourage you to allow God to come in and just be like, this is where I'm at. And I'm so thankful that's what I've learned, because in those situations, I feel like he does the best work. When we're not perfect, when we're just crying on the floor, boo-hooing, screaming, crying, whatever, he's right there comforting us, allowing us to express how we feel, allowing us to just go through it. Listen, sometimes he knows the process that he has us on is not the best. Like, it's been so many people in the Bible, David, Jesus, Joseph, so many people, that process that they had to go through before they received the victory, before they went and got the victory and made the promises came past in their life, they had to go through a process. They had to go through dealing with depression. They had to go through dealing with being alone. They had to go with dealing with being isolated and being misunderstood and being rejected. It had to go through so many things. You know, each of them felt different emotions, but they all had to go through a process. And so oftentimes I think that sometimes we can think that we're exempt and we're like, God should just give us what we're desiring right now, and what he promised us, I need to have it right now. But we don't realize that the process is necessary. In the process, God really teaches us and molds us and refines us and shapes us to all of who he wants us to be. So when he does give us the promises that he desires to give us in life, when he does bless us, when he does do what he's going to do, we can be able to be in the position to receive it in a new way. In a way that, because of the process, what the process took us through, we're now equipped to be able to handle what God is going to give us. So you guys, just know that we all deal with stuff. One of the things that I wanted to share today that has helped me is knowing that prayer, praise, and worship helps. That has helped me. And that's just one thing that has helped me. And being real with God. Of just, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be real. It's okay to scream. It's okay to yell. Whatever you feel like you need to do. Be real. Be honest. Let those emotions out. Release the emotions, the negative emotions in your mind, in your heart, wherever you're feeling. Release those so that you can be able to let like that weight go. Because if you don't release, you're holding on and your body can't release. And it'll constantly feel heavy. Your mind will constantly feel weighed down. Your heart will constantly feel weighed down because you're not releasing what's going on inside. So learn how to release. Learn how to surrender. Learn how to just pray. And praying isn't like special. It's just having a conversation. Literally just talking like I'm talking to you. Talk to God. Tell him what you're going through. Tell him what you need help with. And tell him how you feel. And that, you know, that's really as simple as it can be. and really encourage you, praise and worship. If you haven't really done that, I think oftentimes, especially my generation, we get caught up in listening to all this like negative music and booty shaking music and all that stuff, which is fine. And you know, at different points in life, like if you're at a party and stuff, you know, you don't want to listen to like some music is necessary for the environment. But I encourage you, if you're feeling down and if you're feeling like hopeless and really fighting a battle, praise and worship music is what I recommend to help you get through that. I really enjoy Maverick City. I really enjoy Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond. It's so many people. What's another one? Victor Thompson? No. It's somebody that I just recently came across a couple months ago. But there's so many people that I just really encourage you to just be filled with, you know, the worship and the sounds that God desires to fill our minds with and really desires for us to have in our life. So you guys, be encouraged today. Know that self-battle is a real thing. But one thing I do know is that we can overcome and that we can break through. And knowing that with God and with his help, that we can overcome the battle of self, the battle of mental illness, and the battle of just everything that we've been dealing with in life. So you guys, be encouraged today. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.